Good evening. Calling the Columbia County Board of Commissioners, May 16th, 2023 meeting to order. Ask Commissioner Couch to open us with the invocation, please.
Thank you. Please bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day and thank you for this time together to conduct the county's business. Please place a special hedge of protection around those who protect us. Lord, as we approach the summer months, please be with our citizens who are participating in water activities and keep them safe. Be with us now as we make these decisions and help us to do all things in your will. In your most holy and precious name I pray. Amen. Please stand for the pledge.
United States of America, to the republic for one nation, God, indivisible.
The records show we have 3 of 4 commissioners here, so we do have a quorum. Commissioners, the minutes from the May 2nd meeting are in your packet. Approve of them, I'll accept the motion to do so.
I'd like to make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
All in favor, raise your right hand. Carries. You also have the public hearing meetings. Same request.
Motion to approve as presented.
Second.
All in favor, raise your right hand. Minutes are approved. Right to the presentation, and we do have the National Safe Boating Week proclamation. I believe Commissioner Couch is going to handle that with Mr. Larry Wiggins. Larry, you here? Come on down. See you.
Thank you.
Whereas for over 100 million Americans, boating continues to be a popular recreational activity. From coast to coast and everywhere in between, people are taking to the water and enjoying time together boating, sailing, paddling, and fishing. During National Safe Boating Week, the U.S. Coast Guard and its federal, state, and local safe boating partners encourage all boaters to explore and enjoy America's beautiful waters responsibly. And whereas on average, 650 people die each year in boating-related accidents in the U.S., approximately 75% of these are fatalities caused by drowning. And whereas a significant number of boaters who lose their lives by drowning each year would be alive today had they worn life jackets. Now, therefore, we, as the Board of Commissioners of Columbia County, do hereby support the goals of the Safe Boating Campaign and proclaim the week of May 20th through May 26, 2023 to be National Safe Boating Week and the start of the year-round effort to promote the wearing of life jackets and safe boating. Signed, sealed, and delivered the 16th day of May, 2023.
Got a speech, Larry?
A couple of words.
I would like to say just a couple of words. Everyone's used to now, over the last 30 years, the National Seatbelt Campaign. And there's no doubt that that has saved lives in auto accidents. A few years ago, the National Safe Boating Council was formed. It is a nonprofit with the mission of trying to get better compliance of wearing life jackets. The National Safe Boating Council works with the Coast Guard, various states, Department of Natural Resources, and sailing and motor clubs across the country. The commissioner mentioned that on average, 75% of boating accident deaths are by drowning. Fortunately, last year that was 83%. Had a bad year last year. What makes that even worse is that 4 out of 5 of those drowning victims were not wearing a life jacket. And the vast majority of them probably would have survived had they been wearing a proper life jacket. So I would like to stress to you and have you stress to your children and other family members the importance of wearing a life jacket at all times when they're on the water, regardless of the activity they're involved in. That includes kayaks and paddleboards. There's been a big increase in deaths from people trying out those new sports, thinking there's no danger because there's no motor or anything. Really easy to fall off a paddleboard, and the wind pushes it away. You don't have a life jacket, you're on your own. So thank you again for issuing this proclamation. We appreciate the support of the commission and all the citizens of Columbia County in safe boating. Thank you.
Commissioners, you have the consent agenda in front of you. Each item on this agenda has been through the necessary committees and received the necessary votes to be placed on the consent agenda. So if they meet with your approval, we'll accept a motion to approve them all at once.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second?
Any other questions? All in favor, raise your right hand. That passes. On to the debate agenda. First item, construction contract.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I make a motion to award and approve the construction contract with Southern Asphalt for the resurfacing of White Oak Road, County Line Road, Sawdust Road in the amount of $4,661,445.11.
Second?
This was postponed from April 18th. We did receive bids. We were over budget. Staff did go negotiate with GDOT. They did provide us with additional funding. We also negotiated with the contractor and got their costs down, so we are now actually have a surplus of funding, so we're prepared to move out with this project.
Questions? Good work, staff. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries.
Next item, Mr. Chair, is resolution. I make a motion to approve the second reading of Resolution 23-09, 23-11, and 23-13 to establish street light districts located in Four Oaks, PH2C, Greenpoint 1B, and Highland Lake Section 3, and to authorize appropriate power providers to proceed with installation per their proposals.
Second?
You have 3 streetlight districts here. 2 of them were requested by developers for new sections of subdivision, and 1 is an existing subdivision requested by the residents.
Questions? All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries.
Lastly, here we have a resolution, 2316. I make a motion to approve the second reading of resolution number 23-16 to establish a streetlight district in River Oaks, Phase 3.
This is a request from the developer for the new section of River Oaks.
Questions? All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries. I believe you're still up to,
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. We have file RZ 230501. I make a motion to approve the request for conditional use for a place of worship for property located at tax map 073C, parcel 017.
Second.
This is a request for conditional use for a church. The church is existing, however, they're looking to expand with a building. The building will be located approximately here, about 10,000 square feet, I believe. They have been in place, but because of their additional building, they are required to come back in and bring themselves into current standards. That's why they're asking for the conditional use. There'll be a companion variance if you approve this.
questions? All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries.
Next, we have file VA 230502. I make a motion to approve the request for a variance to section 90-139, buffers and screening located at tax map 073C, parcel 017, to reduce the rear structural buffer to 10 feet, subject to the conditions enumerated in the May 4th, 2023 Planning Commission report.
This is a request to go from a 30-foot required buffer due to the dissimilar zoning down to a 10-foot buffer. There is conditions that additional landscaping, list of evergreens will be used to screen the detention pond, and any kind of exterior lighting will have to be shielded away from the residential properties. This is an existing pond that's in place, by the way.
Questions? All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries.
Next is file RZ 230502. Make a motion to disapprove the request for a conditional use for a tattoo parlor for property located at tax map 082D, parcel 093.
This tattoo is a conditional use as well for the zoning. Addition on this would say that only one suite could be used at any one time for the use of tattoo in this parcel.
Any questions? All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries.
The last file, VA 230501, I make a motion to approve the request for a variance to section 90-98, list of lot and structural requirements located at tax map 077A, parcel 028F, to remove the maximum building setback from Washington Road.
This parcel is in the Evans Townsend Overlay District, which does have a maximum setback for the building. As you see here, the property is not a rectangular piece or square piece. It does have an angle in the front, causing them to shift back. This is roughly a 42, 43-foot variance, allowing them to move the building further away from the road. We did not dictate the distance that would be allowed in the staff report. It's just removing the requirement of being 125 is the maximum it can be. So we're just removing that completely if approved.
Questions? All in favor, raise your right hand. Carries. And I believe there are no legal matters to discuss tonight. There are no requests for review by committee, but we have several public comments. So Ms. Priscilla Benz wants to speak about the library. Priscilla?
Thank you, Chairman Duncan and commissioners and staff. Appreciate you hearing me. This 5-minute talk, I hope, is for the purpose of protecting our children in the library right here in Columbia County. Propaganda, what is that? That's showing not all the facts. It's showing these families and these books with more fun, more affection, more creativity, more wealth, more inclusiveness, everything that your kid wants. The artwork is phenomenal. As you pass the books around, you'll see that. There's some misconceptions about this effort that several parents and I have made, and that is that we want to ban books. Nobody has ever said we want to ban any books. I've never recommended banning a book. I think either side of the political aisle would not want banning books. What we do want is the books to be placed under the protection of parents and guardians so that they can decide whether they want their child to have the books or not. And that's putting them in the adult section, not in the children's section, not in the youth section right next door, not even in the young adult section downstairs, because that place is frequented by young teenagers. I've watched it. It's not young adults. So we need these books in the adult section. And I have nothing against, I was a public health nurse for 20 of my 40 years as a nurse. I have nothing against teaching about transgenderism and their problems and the homosexual lifestyle. And those are in plenty of books already. Nonfiction books, there's some really good nonfiction books in the children's section. Those topics are well covered without the propaganda. The propaganda books are usually always recommended by the Rainbow Coalition of the American Library Association. So you have a ready list. Every year they come out with a list of recommended books. And we have 70 of them in our library. If you pull up LGBTQ+ on your Pine catalog search, you'll get about 50 in the children's and youth. So we are not recommending getting rid of factual books about these tough topics. We're not recommending tape on the back of a binder. That doesn't provide any protection for children wandering in the children's section. If whether you have 1, 2, or 5 children, you don't have time to read all the books that your children are picking out to check out. And you certainly don't have time to see what a tape on the back of a binder means or what you should do about it. Another argument is that we want to infringe on constitutional rights. Children under 18 are not under the Constitution. They're under our responsibility, under our authority as parents and guardians. And so we're not against the constitutional rights. We want the constitutional rights of parents and guardians to decide what their children should read. And we are not recommending that you use the author's recommendations. This is a problem here locally at this library, is that we're using the author recommendations for age appropriateness. Now, if an author is writing these books, are they going to say that that book should be in the adult section or even the youth section? They're going to gear the books for the lowest age possible. If they get bigger bang for their buck, they'll have more impact if they have little kids reading these books. So we recommend not using the recommendations of the authors of these books, but instead using the common sense of the public, of concerned taxpayers, citizens, parents. We do recommend moving all these books to the adult section. They can be placed however Ms. Maynor wants to place them: psychology, education, sociology, whatever topic, intersperse them, put them all together. We don't care if adults get all excited and go check them out 20 times. That's fine, you know. They're an adult. We're trying to protect children. We're asking that you listen to the silent majority. And the Republican County Convention in March unanimously passed a resolution to separate these books out and put them in the adult section. I would encourage you to go into your Pines catalog under search LGBTQ plus and child. LGBTQ plus and youth. And I didn't count them exactly, but it looks like about 50 books pop up. So it's an eye-opener. And I don't want the trend to continue to escalate as it has. I believe that books affect minds of children. Questions?
Not really. Thank you.
Ma'am?
And I will read I can't read and listen at the same time. Did what you told us to do, pass them down. Thanks, Ms. Priscilla. Mr. Ming Lin, I apologize, but please state your name and address for the record. I should ask.
My name is Ming Lin. Live at 3519 Turnberry Lane. I asked to be on the agenda because I have an issue with the county long overdue for 3.5 years. And I have made over 7 times request trying to get an answer and see what's going on, why things weren't happening. Supposed to be, in the last 2 months, I made 7 requests, but I have never got callbacks or anyone to address the inquiry. So I would like to address to the commission because I think it's an issue that I need an answer, and the board could give me an answer. In 2019, the county exercised eminent domain, wants to take 1.7 some acres from my land right at the tip of Gibbs Road and Washington Road. And the claim was that it was needed, and the need was imminent, needed as of yesterday, and the construction was ready to start tomorrow. And that was what was presented to the court. Well, eminent domain, provide that power to every governmental body, and so it happened. And so in 2020, early, I think it was January, February, finally the land was taken under eminent domain, and they issued a check to me. But after that, to this date, we're talking about almost 3.5 years. And there's no development, no road. And so the land was taken from me with the power of eminent domain. So what happened there? Did the misuse of eminent domain power happened under pretense of needing to develop a public need road? Why was the county not willing to give me an answer and tell me what happened? Because I'm the person who lost that 1.7 some acres. And that's why I wanted to bring it to the commission and ask the commission to deal with me. You know, we are reasonable people, and the county attorney, you know, deal with me. What happened, and where do we go from here?
Matt?
So, I mean, it's my understanding that there was at the time an intent to do road construction, which is a proper purpose for doing eminent domain, and we filed the action. As with all cases of condemnation, you're allowed to, one, argue the value of what's being taken, because you have a constitutional right to be paid for what's taken from you, and that was worked out, and he was paid what the value of the property that was taken. And then also at the time, you have a right to make a claim of bad faith that this isn't a proper taking, that not for a proper purpose. That argument wasn't made. I've been doing this job long enough to know that there are times that the intent is there to do a project, whether for a road or for other things, and sometimes circumstances happen that gets off the table and it's not done. There are some provisions in the law for other types of projects that after a certain number of years, the person could ask to have the property back. Those provisions of the law don't apply to roads, I would assume, because the state legislature thought in its wisdom that there may be a future need for roads beyond that the county should be able to work with. So at the end of the day, there's not a requirement to give back the property. There is not. I don't think in this case, from what I know about it, there's not any bad faith of why we did it. There's no reason for us to want to buy almost 2 acres for not doing it for a public purpose. So I don't, the implication that there was bad purpose, I don't think that, obviously that's there. Where to go from here is just a matter of weighing the county's potential future needs for the property for a public purpose versus his desire to have it back. And that's the discussion that, at least I understand, from my understanding of it, we do want that property. The county does want that property for future road purposes.
Matt, they could help on this. I understand that there is a need for that property. I think we're in negotiation to buy some more property down that road.
The reason we purchased the property is to secure access from Northwood subdivision, which is back here behind the government complex. Right now, it's currently accessed off of North Bel Air Road. There's a right-of-way that was deeded to the county at the end of Ridge Pine Drive. That right-of-way extended to Mr. Minglin's property. He was the remaining parcel between there and Washington Road. We did acquire property for right-of-way that would take us from his property line out to the signal at Gibbs Road, secure that access to that signal. Did that knowing that if we didn't secure it then, there was a chance that we would not have that opportunity in the future. There was a lot of development looking in that area. We actually met with some of the developers. There was an auto parts store, I believe, at one point, looked at that location, worked out a plan with those folks. Keep public access to the signal versus just one business having access to the signal. Did have a preliminary plan for funding this through the current SPLOST. It did not make our short list approved by the voters, so our funding did not come through the way we intended it to. I guess that kind of leans to what Chris was saying, is that it wasn't bad faith, it's just it didn't get funded the way we thought it did. But having this property does provide us with an access point from North Bel Air Road out to Washington Road at a signalized intersection. No other way to do that on this stretch of Washington Road.
Are we gonna build a road?
It's fully our intent to do so as soon as we have the funding.
I guess that answers the question from our perspective, Mr. Lynn. There is going to be a road built, we just can't tell you.
Well, I got a couple concern. Number one, I wish people would deal with me. They don't ignore me. I made over 7 requests in 2 months period. Nobody was willing to call me back. I think that's not right. And second thing, eminent domain law has its own prerequisites. And if the county wasn't certain that they're gonna need it or not, to use the eminent domain power as if you already know what you're gonna do, and in the court to present it as if you already got a plan ready to go, ready to start construction tomorrow, that is actually a misrepresentation. And that therefore make that eminent domain, the exercising of that, to be misused or abused the power. Then a county can go out and take all kinds of land in case you might need it 100 years from now. There's got to be a reasonable line drawn somewhere. I'm sure in the law is gonna be defined. And I'm not looking for trouble. I'm just asking people what's going on. And do you really need it? I mean, why taking it from me with that kind of power and then really you don't need it?
I think it's been articulated that there is a need, it just hasn't been funded yet.
Then when it was presented, it sounded like they already got the funding, they already have a design, they're ready to start construction. That sounded like they already got their contractor selected too. That was what presented in the court. Of course, their transcript can be acquired. All I want is right now, I mean, county is an entity, but when every one of your officers, when you walk away from your job, you are a citizen like me. All I want is I'm to be treated fair. And so therefore, I bring this matter to the attention of the commission, and I just need the county to be represented with someone sincere deal with me. Okay, so where are things standing? Where are we standing? Don't have any plan? Don't have any funding? Nothing? Or is there already plan? Is there a rough idea? There's going to be another attempt to get the funding? Is this going to be just taken and never going to be used for the purpose that it was taken for? I just need somebody to deal with me. I don't think that's asking too much. And, if the county could deal with me and let me,
Matt,
let me be able to
is that
sleep.
an update? I mean, is there any reason we can't give him an update on where things stand?
Oh, no, I mean, I think that's fair for sure.
Just as we're thinking, a lot more clarity is coming to me as I'm thinking back. This was several years ago. We were actually in the process of the Washington Road widening at the same time, and we were also looking to give access from Rocky Branch to a signal. That signal is in the same location, Gibbs Road here, that we're talking about. However, the folks at Rocky Branch did not want that access to a signal, so that part got scrapped. However, the Northwood residents were fully in favor of it, so we kept moving forward with the project. But I'll come back. It's been a long time, but there was a lot more parts to it than just one neighborhood.
Yeah.
But yeah, so right now we do not have identified funding. Again, we did not make the short list for SPLOST. As funding becomes available, it's about 2,500 foot of road. It's probably $1 billion to get this road built, I guess.
Okay.
So if we were to identify $1 million, it would definitely be a benefit to the Northwood residents to get this road built. I think it would help Northwood as well as several other on North Bel Air Road to have another access point to Washington versus Ronald Reagan.
It would seem to me if the intent is to build that road, that go ahead and figure out how to do it. Fair enough?
Fair.
So we're going to press forward and figure out how to do it and then give you an update on when we have the more details.
I really appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
I hope that we can deal in equity. I mean, in the mutual respect fashion, because I lost 1.7 acres not because I want to, and nobody wanted to explain it to me why things isn't happening the way it was claimed. So if someone could allow me to deal with certain ones so that along the way I would know what the situation and
Matt, can you
the
keep
new
us
status.
informed? Matt will keep you informed of where things are.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Y'all have a good day.
Marlena, Ardron?
Staff, happy Boating Safety Week. We did the Spirit of America class, and you can call my son Captain Mitchell now because he was certified with that program. It's a really great program. I recommend it. I'm going to ask some questions.
If you would please state your name and address.
Yes, I sure can.
Take 5 minutes.
Okay, 5 minutes, and then I ask that the questions I ask not count against my time while waiting for the response. Okay, so I'm Marlena Bergeron, 2545 Willow Creek Court. I'm a mom, a stepmom, a soon-to-be step-grandma. I have a master's in education. I'm a master naturalist and a master gardener. I care about kids, environmental justice, and public health, and trees benefit all three. In my opinion, if you're pro-life, it just makes sense to be pro-tree. I spent all my time at the last board meeting talking about the environmental impacts of RZ 230403. And I, of all people, should know that environmental arguments don't always move the needle in this room. And I, of all people, should also know that fear-mongering doesn't win people over to Team Nature, even though I am concerned for us and for our kids, for habitat loss, and for the man-made climate change impacts. But let's talk about policy and procedures in this room. I believe there was a breach between the April 20th planning meeting and the May 2nd Board of Commissioners meeting. It is my understanding that both elected and appointed planning commissioners are overwhelmed reviewing development applications. Our fantastic county staff is even more inundated, making sure that every project is up to code. They ought not to have time to edit applications on behalf of the developer. Their salary is paid by taxpayers, and therefore their work is to benefit and protect our community. On April 20th, after the planning meeting, I found time to review the Parker's Kitchen application for the 24 variance, and I found errors. I have no quarrel with the developer or the company, but the address of the site, while it was correct, the description was wrong. And when I inquired why the developer mentioned hotels and a heavy commercial area, which didn't sound like our fringe rural bedroom community voted top 10 places to live, I was told the developer cut and pasted his Grovetown application into the Riverwood Plaza application. Instead of sending the application back to the applicant to tighten up his project, the county edited it on his behalf because, as I was later told, we knew what he meant. Instead of sending it back to a public planning meeting to be approved in its corrected state, the application was internally corrected and fast-tracked to the Board of Commissioners and approved 4-1. So let me ask the attorney, Matt, does "we knew what he meant" hold up in the court of law for public documents?
Sorry, Chris,
Sorry.
Yeah, I got thrown off there.
We'll go with Chris.
I'll just say that from what I'm hearing, what I saw happen, I think everything's is perfectly legal and fine.
Okay. And then I was also wondering, does taxpayer-funded county staff, does that mean they should be spending time editing developer applications? Chris?
I'm sorry? So,
Should county staff, whose salary is funded by taxpayers, correct?
it is.
Should they be spending any of their time editing developers' applications?
I don't really think that's a legal question, but yes, I think that the staff is there to support the community as they go through the rezoning process.
Support the community, okay. I just want to make sure that the community is being supported, not just the developer side. And my last question.
Developers are part of the community.
This is true. This is fair. And that I'm going to get to that because I also want to make sure that if we're going to lose trees to a project, though, we do it in the utmost awareness and accuracy. I'm not in a hurry to lose shade and wildlife diversity, so I don't want any of you to be. I don't want to interfere with anyone's livelihood, but those trees are our lifeline. And I don't mind having one more month of trees on that corner, one more month for nesting birds to finish raising their babies. Trees aren't just for people with money and golf courses. They serve everyone, regardless of class, color, and creed. I love those green corners. Those are our Grover's Corners, and I'm going to miss them. And we're losing the Washington and the Columbia side that buffer William Few. But let's move on, because I'm not here to grandstand. I'm not here to file lawsuits. I actually have to bring Mitchell to Boy Scouts in a minute, but I would like to get something done. We know this project is happening. Fine. We have to build to accommodate our growing community, and we want to partner with builders, especially builders who reside here. We want our construction to add value and celebrate sustainability and conservation. Those are luxuries we can afford. That's why we moved here. We must stop dumbing down our green spaces to asphalt, grass, and crepe myrtles. As part of our evolving land ethic, it should be mandatory part of every project that, in addition to water and sewer compliance, a natural resources committee be tasked with arranging a native plant rescue, as well as tagging particularly large tree specimens and groves. The Georgia Native Plant Society. John Williams is great, isn't he?
You're out of 5 minutes, sorry.
Okay. I'm
That is my
almost,
timer, and
okay.
they call
Well,
me
I've got 20 seconds according to mine, so.
Go ahead, take 20.
All right, thanks. So they're already doing this. They're already rescuing plants, and they're working with developers. We know we're not going to stop development, but even if it's not legally required, it is morally responsible to incorporate and preserve what we can of the natural vegetation on every tract of land, bringing a little bit of nature home everywhere instead of subjugating it to our urgent and ephemeral whims and conveniences. We also ought to consider a rezoning renewal process, something that allows an ongoing assessment of the dynamics between community development needs and land purchased and rezoned. This tract was rezoned for commercial development 23 years ago. It was already approved, you, Doug, said to a Riverwood resident legitimately concerned with impact on traffic. It was approved when hardly anyone lived here, before schools, growth, and more neighborhoods were here, and our fringe rural bedroom community is changing before our eyes. We'd like to keep Evans one of the top places to live by protecting its beauty and adding value, not just concrete strip malls and truck stops for tax revenue. We should also consider how we regulate businesses. We don't want to lose
Marlena.
trees and wildlife. I'm going to wrap it up.
Okay.
Right now, let me confirm, we only regulate liquor licenses and liquor distribution. Is that correct? There is no other regulation on what kind of business can go where?
No, not at all. No, it's very strict zoning.
Okay, so someone can't open up a whole corner that's all gas stations and fried chicken?
Oh.
Okay.
Zone.
Matter of fact, quick question.
Well, once it's zoned
How many-
commercial.
well, hold on, give me a chance. How many acres did we buy off of that corner back where there was going to be a housing project?
120.
Is this the Harding
120
McManus?
acres. How much money did we pay for it? $6 million?
A little over $6 million.
120 acres, $6 million.
Right.
Very close to this property. What's going to become of that property?
It's a park.
A park full of what?
Lots of birds.
Full of trees,
Yeah,
birds?
The actual back, probably 80 acres is gonna be biking trails, so it's gonna be very natural. We're not going in and cutting anything there.
So Marlene,
That's beautiful.
this commission is very focused on green space, but we're pro-business, but we're also pro taking care of the community, giving them parks and space needed. Trees will be cut down. I apologize for that, but it's gonna happen. But we're building parks, frankly, everywhere, and investing taxpayer dollars to do it.
Well, I was going to ask, I know Scott Johnson's not paying for the whole thing. Is it being funded by taxpayer money, that purchase?
Yes.
So what I would like, because that purchase is upland of that Uchee Creek on this corner. Do you mind pulling up that map? Did you have the map for that? Okay. Well, if you look at the map on the narrative.
We're way past 20 seconds.
I understand. Well, I'm
And we
just.
have another speaker also.
Okay, so that said, thank you very much for your time. I've also had a conversation with Mr. Robert Pollard, and I think we, as a community, can start making some offers that are those tracks close to the wetlands, so we can buy those back, because it's great we have the room upland, but if we buy those tracks that are buffering the wetland right now, that will protect the pre-existing beauty. That's what we want to keep.
Go to Mr. Pollard and ask him to donate the land, because
Donate.
he has a lot. He's got a lot.
I mean, he did pay for it, but it's our golden goose. So I'd like to, make sure that if I'm not at this meeting, that you're supporting the things we care about. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Beth Connell. Please state your name and address for the record, ma'am.
Good evening. I'm Beth Connell. I live at 2538 Falling Branch Lane, Evans. I'm here tonight to go on the public record regarding the failure of the commission to uphold an ordinance at the last commission meeting. This case, there was a variance that was granted against the ordinance which prohibits the operation of a gas or convenience station for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. 4 of the 5 commissioners voted to approve the request for the variance for the future Parker's Kitchen near Riverwood, despite 3 citizens speaking out against it, and only the developer speaking in favor of it. Of greater concern, however, is the fact that this commission approved the variance despite the developer not providing evidence supporting his justification for the variance. And my question is, how can a governing body who's responsible for the ordinances of Columbia County approve a variance without a technical or factual basis? The developer requested the variance on the basis that not being open 24/7 would create an undue hardship for the citizens of Columbia County not working typical day areas. He did not provide any evidence to support that statement. In fact, there are no hotels near this area. There are no hospitals or major manufacturing sites operating near this area 24/7. And this area is far enough from I-20, it's reasonable to expect limited, if no use, from interstate travelers at this location. This area is mostly residential, and traffic patterns support the position raised by the 3 citizens that the majority of these people in the area would not be burdened if Parker's Kitchen operated within the hours of the existing county ordinance. Not only did Parker's development team fail to provide the evidence supporting their request, they stated they needed the variance in order to compete with TPS. Why should the citizens of our county be forced and left to deal with 24/7 operations so Parker's can be assured of financial success? I have spoken at many planning and zoning committees and several commission meetings. I'm sure you guys are familiar with my face quite often. Many citizens here, myself included, we have endured disrespectful comments from planning and zoning committee members when we try to step out of our comfort zone and fight for the things that we believe in our county. I've heard citizens be told they should know what their zoning is of land around them, and then watched in the rest of the meeting where 14, 15 properties are rezoned. So my question is, how are the citizens supposed to keep up with this? I've personally heard a citizen's request for a larger offset be denied because it was told the ordinance did not require it, even though that created no hardship for the particular development. The actions last session proved that even when the ordinance requires something, you will still vote in favor of the developer and waive the ordinance. Why not vote in favor of the residents? I've heard too many times it's the right of the landowner to develop his or her land. While I agree a landowner should be able to develop, it should be within reason and consistent with the area around the property. It is the duty and the responsibility of this commission to balance growth and development in our county while protecting the existing communities and existing citizens. It is a responsibility many, including myself, will say you have failed, as evidence of massive rezoning from RA to PRD and PUD, an overworked planning and zoning committee that approves error-filled applications, and the approval of high-end, such as the high-end retail at the entrance to Ivy Falls, and other problems with overdevelopment. It is very sad that this group failed to do the right thing 2 weeks ago and enforce an ordinance that already exists. You didn't have to be the bad guy. You simply had to have the backbone and say no. Unfortunately, your actions and failures to enforce our own county rules result in the citizens having to deal with every developer knowing, just tell the commissioners anything. They'll approve it. Sadly, they already know that, based on years of action. Shame on the 4 of you for your failure to do your job, and thank you for the one who had the courage to speak up for the citizens. Thank you.
I respectfully disagree with you.
Disagree
but
also,
that's the
ma'am.
right you have, so, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Righty. No executive session. I think we only have one more item.
I make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor, raise your right hand. You're adjourned.